Hey, what's up? We are back here on the Pig Trail, and we're talking recruiting now. Recruiting insider Otis Kirk, the dude that flat out had a long drive back from Little Rock.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I got home at 3 this morning, then talked for a couple of hours to a friend, and so it was 5 o'clock when I went to bed. Back up at 8:30. So
yeah,
3 and a half. That's 2 nights in a row I've done that. So I mean, my time may be running out.
And I've said it before, man. You're like John Gruden. You just keep going, man. You got it. You got the fuel to keep going. You are grinding away as far as this 2019 class and keeping an eye on it.
Yeah.
22 commitments now for Arkansas. You know, the big news this past week, obviously, Hudson Henry committing to the Hogs out of Pulaski Academy. But let's shift gears. You know, they're looking at getting 9 in at midterm. And that would be a combo of high school guys and junior college guys. Let's address some needs right now.
Well, I think with what they've got, and assuming that you've got a defensive lineman who's announced in the 24th. Let's just assume for this that they get him. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying let's assume for this. Okay, that leaves 6 scholarships. Other than Kelly Bryant, who's coming in next week, you're looking at, but you definitely need linemen, offensive linemen, I mean.
Right.
Linebackers, you've got 1 committed. On the offensive line, you've got 3, and then secondary. You've got 2 corners and a safety committed right now.
Right.
So those have got to be priorities after you kind of get this. You settle it with, you got Torian Carter and Kelly Bryant out there, but other than them, it's almost got to all be linebackers, defensive backs, and offensive linemen.
Yeah, let's go to Kelly Bryant. You mentioned him, and obviously huge news right now, the fact that he's going to visit for Tulsa weekend. So that's coming up, and Kelly's a guy that's been on the headlines quite a bit for good reason, having played quarterback at one time for the Clemson Tigers, of course. So we're talking about a situation here where this guy fits exactly what Chad Morris wants to do and has the history with Chad Morris as well.
Yeah, I mean, I hear people saying, I don't want a Clemson reject. Look, the guy that replaced him was Trevor Lawrence. You're talking about Peyton Manning, John Elway, first pick in the draft guy is what Trevor Lawrence is. I covered Clemson for a couple of months back in the summer. Or back in the spring. And I'm telling you, Trevor Lawrence was the #1 rated player in America last year. That's not getting beat out by some walk-on. I mean, this guy got kind of beat out by Trevor Lawrence, who's, like I said, is going to be the first pick in the draft when he goes out as a junior. So Kelly Bryant is 18-2 as a starter, if I'm not mistaken. I know he lost 2 games. He's a dual threat. And he does exactly, as you said, what Chad Morris wants to do. And look, I'm the biggest fan of Ty Story, who they've got right now. I'd love to see them keep Ty and add Kelly Bryant. And K.J. Jefferson, you got Connor Nolan. I mean, hey.
Nice competition right there.
That's some competition. That makes everybody better, in my opinion, Drew. That's what you need is competition, not just at quarterback, but every position. Yeah. I mean, as you saw last night over there in Little Rock, we saw. You can't get too many players at one position. Right. I mean, you were down to your 3rd running back, your 2nd quarterback, your 2nd defensive end or 3rd, I mean, it's just, with the game going out, it's what happens. And so you need to be deep at positions. Think Alabama, when Tua went out yesterday in the 3rd quarter, what did they do? They put in Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. So translation depth, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
That to me is as big as, everybody talks about recruiting 4 and 5 stars, but most teams have a pretty good starting 22. It's depth that separates. I mean, Alabama loses 2 or 3 linebackers in preseason. They put in a 4 and 5 star.
Just keep on going, yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, Tua goes out and Jalen comes in, Jalen Hurts. So, I mean, that separates being good and great.
All right, let's close with this because Caleb Johnson's a linebacker that Arkansas is looking at. Josh Donovan is an offensive tackle from the JUCO ranks as well. So, you look at those positions of need, and these guys look like they jump off the page right now for Arkansas.
Caleb Johnson committed to Iowa State, withdrew that commitment this week, decommitted, and he's looking hard at Arkansas and Texas. He's 6'1", 215, very good linebacker. Plays at Fullerton out in California. He's exactly what they need to go with, the kid they've got. And then what they've got maybe coming back. You don't know who all's coming back and who, but Bumper Pool, assuming Scooter comes back. And then, as you said, Josh Donovan's about 6'4", 6'5", 330 pounds. He's a true offensive tackle. And he brings the size that they're looking for at the offensive tackle position. They're wanting size out there, and he's got that. So, and they're looking, believe me, they've got at least 3 or 4, I think 4 other junior college offensive linemen, in addition to Tim Anderson, that they're going to bring in for visits, or trying to get in for visits. And Myron Cunningham's the one to keep in mind from Iowa Central. They're going to bring him in December, and he is midterm too.
I said we're going to close with that, but I lied. Sorry about that. Quick take. I want to know what you're thinking here as far as this 1-6 football team. Because have you ever, in your recruiting insider life, so to speak, seen a 1-6 football team generate such a buzz in terms of recruiting right now?
No, I haven't. And that all goes back to Chad Morris and his staff. That's what that goes back. That's who gets credit for that. Is they sold a vision, a plan, a idea for the program. They sold what they were going to do, and they sold a future to these kids, and they believe in them. And and so no, I haven't. I mean, if you'd have told me back when I first started this job at the end of July that if they were going to be 1-6 and this recruiting class would still be holding together, I would have said, Drew, I'm not so sure about that. Yeah. But it is, and to this point anyway. And I mean, I'm not saying somebody might not decommit, but I mean that could have happened anyway. But I mean, I don't think you're going to see like a mass exodus of recruits. I think they're going to keep most of these kids, or all of them, and add to it.
These guys are just hitting the ground running.
No, they're
more staff.
They're aggressive on the recruiting trail. That's the difference. They're aggressive. They didn't come in with some preconceived notion that, hey, the airport's too expensive to get kids to visit unofficially, this and that. We're too far away from the states down there, Florida and Georgia and stuff. No, they didn't come in with any notion of that. They came in, rolled up their sleeves, and went to work, and was aggressive on the recruiting trail, and it's going to pay off.
Open mind. Come in with an open mind. Yep, absolutely. Appreciate you, Otis.
Okay,
all right,
man.
As always, Otis Kirk, Recruiting Insider. You see his stuff on Hogville as far as his articles. All right, we're back with more of the Big Trail right after this.